climbing up on the counter and thinking, well, this will be fun. I'm just going to mix it all together and see how I can concoct it all, you know? So that was kind of my childhood. I mean, and
then you would taste it and you would...
Well, no, I just like, I didn't drink at that point in time, but I was just like, I didn't, this was life. I was like, this is what adults did, you know what I mean? So then I was date raped in high school. I became bulimic when I was 17 to 20. I thought if I just got married, then all my problems would be solved. So I got married at 21.
But can I ask you a question? Do you think that upbringing with your mom and all the stuff that she exposed you to, do you think that led to your vulnerability when it came to
I think our teachers are our greatest teachers because our parents teach us what we want to be and what we don't want to be. And they teach us in miraculous ways. And my parents now are great. They both have matured and grown up and we're all healed and da-da-da. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great to have a parent that had it all together in this lifetime and teach you the truths of the universe. But that wasn't the school that I signed up for in this lifetime.
Wow. So you're in high school and that horrible situation happened to you?
And that spun me into the bulimia. Mm-hmm.
Of course, because you're running. So
yeah.
You're trying to... And so what was that like for you in high school? And were you hiding it from people? Were you...
Bulimia was, I would never wish that disease on anybody. It was horrific. It was a living hell. I couldn't stop. You know, you do it for fun because you're with girls and you're like, oh, I think, you know, if we can eat and then we can puke and it's gonna be really fun and we're gonna be skinny and we're gonna be cute. And then all of a sudden you're like alone, binging, purging, and can't even go out and be social because you've got to purge again.
Wow,
it's
so
a nightmare.
Off like that
it's a terrible, terrible disease. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then what happened after that and how was...
Then I pulled myself out of hell into thinking, if I just get married, then everything will work out, you know?
Interesting.
So the next person I dated, I got married to. And
how old were you at the time?
I was 21, right before my 22nd birthday.
21, mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I was pregnant when I got married.
So why would you think, okay, there's that too, but why would you think that marriage was your answer to?
I had seen it in the movies.
Wow.
I thought, well, then you get married and then it's happily ever after,
so
you know?
You didn't have a lot of guidance.
There was no guidance.
Right, so you're figuring it out from your friends, the movies, high school,
I have no idea.
Like...
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell was going on. And then at, you know, full-term pregnancy,
at 21?
I had, at 22
at that point.
I had a stillborn son, full-term. And, you know, at that point in time, you give birth to your full-term baby. You can't just like have it taken out. And the next day, after giving birth to his body, I was at the mortician's house. And it was one of the scenes, a scene out of the movie. It was like, the mortician was like, because I came back with a bag of clothes thinking I didn't get the right pictures with my dead baby. So he goes, sweetheart, your baby's been in formaldehyde for 24 hours, so you might not want to get pictures, but you can take as much time as you need to grieve. So he set up the room. It was like a scene out of the movie, red drapes, went down into this room in the basement. He closed the door behind me, and I walked over to this hospital bed with this little body in the middle, dropped the bag of clothes, and just had one of those moments. It was literally just, you know, the lump in the throat.
Yeah.
How could life be so cruel? If there is a God, how could God be so cruel? And I was crying and crying.
Where was your husband during all this?
Not around, you know.
He wasn't around.
He didn't want to come back to the whole thing, you know. He was traumatized from the day before.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, yeah, it wasn't right anyway. But anyway, and I just had one of those moments. I was like, his body's here, he's gone, we're not these bodies. And it sent me on a major commitment to just figure out what the hell. I just decided I'm a spiritual being, he's a spiritual being. None of this matters if we don't understand our nature.
So what was the first step that you took towards discovering the whole spirituality?
Oh my gosh, well, my mom had told me, you know, religion was awful, so I didn't want to go to religion at all. So I started seeking a lot of books, going to seminars, and
anything and everything.
Anything and everything, yes. And I started meditating. Started meditating at the age of 23. And through that process and through just beginning, I just became obsessed. And back then, we barely had the internet. It was barely up and running, you know. And it took a long time, you know. It took a long time. but over many years I kept seeking everything I could get my hands on. I studied with shamans. I studied, different philosophies. I studied subconscious work. Went back into, the Greek oracle processes, everything I could find. And then finally I found what's called science of mind, metaphysics basically. And when I found that, I was like, why has nobody ever told me that this existed? Universal law. Oh, there's actually like a way that we direct energy in this universe. Oh, there's actual physics to this universe. Oh, there's actually how my mind imprints my subconscious mind, and my subconscious mind informs the entire universe, and it has to reflect back. Like, why are we not taught these things?
I don't know. I mean, there's
Tell
so
me,
much.
Tanya.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm
really pissed off at you,
into
by the
your
way.
story. Yeah, you're pissed at me because I'm not the one teaching it, right? Why don't you know? No, it's interesting because now there is a lot of information, but you don't know what the right information is. And some of it, I do feel like it's out there, and I don't think it's the way that they teach it. I wonder if it's true or not, or I mean, I'm sure that you discover a lot of that.
Science is backing a lot of it now.
Well, that's true.
I mean, there's so many things that, like epigenetics now, they're discovering that all memory of all lifetimes, we restore all memory. So you don't have to believe in past life. It doesn't have to be some woo-woo thing. We look to science. So now there's science of mind that we can actually look to see science backing of spirituality, meaning that we merge spirituality and science together to make sense of all of it. And there's actual, there's things you can measure spirituality with.
So how do you, let's revisit that for 1 second. Like, how do you explain somebody remembering past lives? But it's not about the past lives. It's just remembering things that we did, or like, can you expand on that a
from a
little bit?
spiritual perspective, there's no such thing as the past or future. There's only now. And if all of life is here designed for our growth consciously, so I believe that we're here to experience our consciousness in form, to experience how we direct energy, and we get to actually experience it and touch it and have this 3D realm, this playground to play in. But so, epigenetics help us because now we don't have to know if it's past life and go to that witch hunt of like whatever happened back then. We get to know that, why am I afraid of a spider or a snake when I've never been bit by a snake in this lifetime? Because we have it in our memory.
Right.
And so it makes sense.
So it is proven that it's in our memory from
It's in our
past.
memory, yeah. So now I get to say, my job is not only to experience my consciousness and form, I get to complete my DNA cycle. I get to take what's good, leave what's bad, leave the limiting beliefs, and I get to powerfully step into a free will right here. And I get to create now what I want to create and experience in this lifetime.
What was one of your biggest aha moments, your first ones, when it came to like,
Oh
wow,
my gosh.
this spirituality stuff works? Like, what was one of your moments?
I mean, I don't want to get too woo-woo.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was past life stuff. So I would go into subconscious work and track different things. And I did not like history.
Now, when you say subconscious work, what do you mean by
I mean, well, you go in, and subconscious work has a bunch of different things to it. You can deal with trauma, things that have happened in the past. You can deal with all kinds of things. When you go into trauma, you go earlier, similar, and sometimes it tracks into past lives.
But you were working with a practitioner?
Yes, I was working with a practitioner, okay? So what happened is I would go into these traumatic incidences, and they would be, I mean, this is pretty woo-woo, a couple 100 years ago or something like that. And I'd know exactly what they were wearing. I would be able to tell you the date. I'd be able to tell you what everything was going on. And I'm not a history person at all. And I'd come out and I'd Google it and I'd be like, what the hell?
And you were still in your 20s, obviously, when this happened. So
yeah, so I didn't know. I was like, how did I know that? And it started making me realize, what are our real abilities? Who am I? Like, holy cow, I really am one with everything. And I have the ability to tap into all lifetimes, do anything, and I'm able, all the wisdom of all the great people that have ever lived, I get to stand on their shoulders. I get to not only just stay from not knowing anything, I get to stand from the masters, and I get to carry the baton and move forward.
Wow, and what kind of therapy was that? Hypnotherapy? Was it? No, I want to know.
It was Greek oracle processes. It's a song. It's a lineage.
Heard of that.
I know. So this is the thing: is why do we not know this? Okay.
I don't know.
So Socrates' method came from Greek oracle processes. So this is entire lineage of truth that should be taught to all of us.
How did you find the practitioner? How did you, like, if somebody out there is like, wow, I want to go and do that.
It's
like,
bizarre. Well, you can come to me. But
Okay,
no, but
perfect.
literally, I was like, why? It's like you have to go on hide and seek process of finding these things.
Right,
It's almost like it's designed that way. I feel like it's designed that way. Like
still
we're
feel
in
like
this
it's kind of
game,
designed
right?
that
And
way.
that it's a game, and if you really want it, you're going to have to really seek hard.
Yeah, which is what you did. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you have this huge realization, and then what happens after that?
You know, I think the primary work for me was healing first. I didn't go into this thinking, one day I'm going to be a doctor of divinity, I'm going to have a show, and I'm going to be an author, and like none of that happened. It was that I was in such suffering and so miserable inside that I was seeking just to heal myself. So for me, I did my healing, my trauma work, you know, just finding peace between the suffering of accepting people, places, and things for what they are versus what I wanted them to be. Just all the basics of healing. And then once I did that, I was so obsessed with the work that I became obsessed with all the different practices. And then I found commonalities between all of them. And then you start, you know, then you're like, well, there's a Rubik's Cube here. I got to really figure this out, you know? And then you keep focusing on it. And then all of a sudden you are the Rubik's Cube and you're teaching it. Okay, cool. Right?
So what would you say to people out there that, you know, are really struggling with their spirituality, that they don't know where to start, they're lost, they're not in a good headspace? I mean, I know that that's what you do. You have so many clients now that you work with and you help them through this, but where does somebody even begin?
I think the first thing is to not make yourself wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken.
Yeah.
This is a natural thing. The use of the energy can go towards heaven or hell. It's the same energy that creates bonds as create freedom. So just recognizing that if you're that powerful to create sadness or hopelessness or even depression, you're that powerful to restore the ability. And there's answers. There's lots of answers these days. You can, of course, you can do spiritual work. You can do cognitive therapy. There's lots of things like EMDR, prolonged therapy, tapping, which I've never done tapping, but there's
I've done a little bit of
tapping, there's many different modalities, and I think that you should seek, try things out, and whatever really works for you is what you should do.
Very, very nice. Okay, and so let's talk about Soul Society now.
Yeah.
Too. I know that you've created this incredible world. So, and you also tell me too, you're like, Tanya, I've been working at this for years. Didn't come overnight. Because you guys got to check out her social media. It is absolutely insanely amazing. And you're on your lives every morning driving in her car.
Yeah.
And she's in a new outfit looking fabulous every day. I feel like I watch you going, I don't know how she does it. I just can't get my act together. And you're just so put together.
I'm not.
But you are. You really are. And then, yeah, you've created this whole world, and now you have your students under you, and you're teaching them. And
well, Soul Society was something that, you know, some dreams can come really fast, and some takes what we call the law of growth. Some things take a long time to embody and to water it and feed it. And Soul Society has been one of those that has been birthing in me for many years. So Soul Society's vision is to be the #1 spiritual leaders community in the world, committed to entrepreneurship, enlightenment, and empowerment. My mission is to awaken 1 billion people on the planet. And I feel like the only way I can ever do that is to develop world-class spiritual leaders. So that's what Soul Society is. We have membership, leadership, ambassadorship, and we do events. So we've done really well. We launched in January. We have ambassadors in Europe, in Germany, in New York, San Diego, all over America.
so what is that like? So let's go through those 3 categories. So the membership, what is
Membership's for somebody who wants a spiritual community. They want to do their healing work. Leadership is for somebody who is considered soul entrepreneur, and they want to develop not only their healing, but they want to also develop their entrepreneurship from a spiritual perspective, because all spiritual development, all business development is spiritual development. I don't see a distinction in it whatsoever.
Right.
It's all the same.
Now, do you mean no matter what kind of entrepreneur you are? Or do you
Well,
mean...
they're soul entrepreneurs, meaning that it's for the highest good. Whatever they're doing is based in principle. They have the mindset and they want to live around principle, meaning that they want to come together in prayer and affirmations and visioning and all those things.
No matter what they're doing.
No matter what they're doing. And they bring the principles of what's in the highest good. There's many principles that you you can bring into business from spiritual perspective, meaning things like never making anyone wrong, focusing on people's strengths instead of their weaknesses, which is all leadership skills. It's just also a metaphysical, it's all metaphysical as well. And then the third level is ambassador, and that's for people who want to get certified in all the spiritual work and become independent contractors and take Soul Society out to the world.
Wow, and then they put on their own.
Then they can do their own jam.
Their own
they can co-collaborate. They do a 50-50 split on everyone that comes into Soul Society as well, and so it's been amazing.
How nice. And so how many ambassadors do you have now?
We have, how many ambassadors? We have probably about 30 ambassadors.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And we have
And
a
how long
bunch
is
of
your
people in the
course?
ship.
So if somebody wanted to join, how long is your course?
Generally, I'd say it'd be about a year. It's a 300-hour program. They can do it faster or slower, whatever they want. It's very flexible because, you know, some girls have traditional jobs and are taking a quantum leap into becoming a spiritual leader. But the must-have is people need to have a calling to be a spiritual leader, to be an ambassador. And number two, they have to be fully committed. We just don't deal with people that are in and out. They have to just have a knowing. So sales have been very easy because you don't have to sell anybody. They know. They already know. They already know that they see it and they're like, I've been praying for this.
Something like
yeah.
this. How nice.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about your book.
Yeah.
Your books.
My book.
Your book.
My book is Awakening. It's like basically a 40-day spiritual guide. And the book, I'm telling you, if I can write a book, anybody can write a book. Because I am not a writer, and it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. I'm not going to lie. I remember watching a mentor of mine. She was standing on the stage, and she had this great, profound talk. And at the end, she said, what is the one thing that you did, that if you did it, you knew that if you finished this one thing, you could do anything in this world? I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to write that book.
Writing a book.
Yeah.
And how long ago was this?
The book actually came out 2 years ago, but I had been writing the book for many, many years because what I'd done, I'd taken all the notes and the epiphanies and distinctions between my entire awakening and when I went into becoming a metaphysical minister and a doctor of divinity. So it was like a hodgepodge of a bunch